Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into contingencies. So a contingency clause is a condition or action that must be met for the contract to become binding. Real estate contingencies, they're meant to safeguard not only buyers, but sellers and investors as well. But they can also be a double-edged sword, right? So while these stipulations may further protect either party from mistakes, they also have a negative effect on the negotiation process or even to have your offer considered in the first place. So because every real estate deal is different, it's critical for buyers, sellers, and investors to understand how to adequately incorporate contingencies into their contracts. The number of contingencies that the parties will use will vary from deal to deal and of course from property to property. So first, what we're going to do is I'm going to go through 3 basic rules of contingencies, and then I'll briefly go through some of the main contingencies that we might see on a real estate contract. So first, contingency contracts are conditional. So this is an if this then that type of scenario. So for example, when someone says that their offer is contingent, and this is a little bit of realtor lingo, they generally mean that they need to sell their primary residence first in order to collect the proceeds or the necessary funds so that they can then purchase the subject property that they submitted their offer on. Number 2, contingencies have to be based on specific events. So they have to be specific and measurable. It's kind of like SMART goal setting, the acronym. So an example, if I'm representing a buyer, right? And let's say we're looking at a house and the roof is completely shot. And I've already contacted the listing agent. We've come to a verbal agreement that if we come in and we offer X, they're going to fix the roof. Well, I need to be specific when I include that on the contract. Okay, so I don't just want to say seller to fix roof as the clause. No, it needs to be more specific. I need to say something along the lines of seller to remove and dispose of approximately 300 square feet of asphalt shingle on the first floor roof, and seller to furnish and install approximately 300 square feet of new architectural style shingle to first floor roof with the necessary underlayment and flashings installed according to the manufacturer's specs. So it's a mouthful, but the devil's in the details. And then finally, number 3, contingencies need deadlines. So real estate closing process, it's time sensitive, especially when you're competing against other offers in a low inventory, highly desirable area such as San Diego. So we need to be exact. We need to know exactly when we're closing and how long everyone has to conduct their due diligence. So now what we're going to do is briefly go through some of the main contingencies that we'll see on an offer. First is the appraisal. So the appraisal contingency is used when the buyer wants to make sure that the property is valued at the agreed upon price. Next is the financing or loan contingency, which essentially provides an out if the buyer isn't actually able to secure their financing. So you have to remember, when we're getting ready to submit an offer, you get what's called a pre-approval, but it's a little bit different. It's not a full approval that has a thorough desktop underwriting attached to it. And the reason being is because things can change while we're in escrow, right? People lose their jobs. So you have also the inspection contingency is a big one. This provides the buyer the opportunity to conduct all their due diligence, perform any necessary inspections that they feel has to get done, and then it's not uncommon afterwards to then further negotiate for a request for repairs based on their findings. So then you're also going to see home insurance contingencies, title insurance contingencies, house sale contingencies, which I mentioned earlier. And then there's even a kick-out clause, right? Which what this does is it helps to protect the sellers when they've already accepted an offer with a buyer that is using that house sale contingency that I mentioned earlier. And it essentially allows the seller to continue to market the property even while they're in escrow. And then if they find a more qualified offer, they can essentially kick out the buyer after 3 days if they haven't removed that specific contingency yet. So it's also referred to as a 72-hour clause. So there's a lot to digest here. Happy to discuss this with any of you who's got more questions. I hope this was of some value, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.